Have you ever wondered why the strongest people often leave without saying a single word? Why they do not argue, do not seek revenge, and do not waste their energy trying to convince someone who has already chosen not to understand them? At first, it may appear as weakness. It may seem as though they have surrendered. But what if their silence is not surrender? What if it is the highest expression of self-mastery? Most people believe strength is loud. They think power is found in the last word, the sharper argument, the greater display of emotion. They spend their lives fighting battles that never needed to be fought, hoping that one more explanation will change another person's mind, believing that one more confrontation will finally bring them peace. Yet every unnecessary battle leaves them exhausted, distracted, and further away from themselves. The truly strong understand something different. They know that not every invitation deserves a response. Not every criticism deserves your attention. Not every misunderstanding deserves your explanation. They have learned that peace is more valuable than being right, and protecting their mind is more important than protecting their pride. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must decide what is worth carrying. Will you carry every insult, every disappointment, every opinion thrown at you by strangers? Or will you learn to put those burdens down and continue walking toward the life you were meant to build? This decision separates those who are controlled by the world from those who have learned to master themselves. Walking away is not an escape. It is the recognition that your energy is finite. Every moment spent arguing with negativity is a moment stolen from your growth. Every emotional reaction given to someone who seeks only conflict becomes a gift you never intended to give. Strong people understand that attention is precious, and they refuse to spend it where it cannot bear fruit. There is a quiet confidence that cannot be faked. It does not need applause. It does not demand respect. It simply exists, like a mountain that does not argue with the wind, or a river that does not fight every stone in its path. It continues moving forward with unwavering purpose. This kind of strength is invisible to those who only recognize noise, but it transforms the lives of those who choose to cultivate it. Today's world encourages constant reaction. Every disagreement demands an answer. Every criticism invites a defense. Every insult tempts revenge. But the person who reacts to everything belongs to everything. The one who chooses when to speak and when to remain silent belongs only to themselves. Perhaps the greatest lesson you can learn is that silence is not empty. It is full of wisdom. Walking away is not losing. It is choosing a future over a moment, peace over ego, and purpose over pride. The strongest people do not leave because they are defeated. They leave because they have already won the only battle that truly matters, the battle within themselves. Today, let us discover why those who possess the deepest strength often walk away without a single word, and how embracing that same discipline can completely transform your life. Strength is often misunderstood because the world has trained us to associate it with volume. We are taught that the strongest person is the one who speaks the loudest, argues the hardest, or always has the final word. Yet if you observe nature, you will notice that the greatest forces are rarely noisy. The mountain does not announce its presence. The ocean does not seek permission to rise with the tide. The sun does not argue with the darkness every evening. Their power exists because it is rooted in certainty, not in performance. The same principle applies to human character. A person who has cultivated true inner strength no longer feels compelled to prove it through endless words or emotional reactions. Silence becomes a reflection of stability rather than uncertainty. Many people speak because they fear being misunderstood. They explain themselves repeatedly because they seek acceptance. They defend every decision because they worry about judgment. Their words are often driven not by wisdom, but by insecurity. When your peace depends on convincing someone else that you are right, your emotional state remains in their hands. They control your mood, your confidence, and even your sense of identity. But the moment you stop needing their approval, something remarkable happens. You reclaim ownership of your inner world. Silence is not the absence of communication. It is the presence of confidence that does not require validation. Think about the moments when you reacted out of anger. Perhaps someone insulted you, questioned your character, or underestimated your abilities. In those moments, your immediate instinct was probably to defend yourself. You wanted to correct them, expose their mistakes, or make them regret their words. Yet after the argument ended, did you truly feel stronger? Or did you feel drained, restless, and emotionally exhausted? Every unnecessary reaction costs something. It consumes your attention, your energy, and your peace. The strongest people understand that every emotional response is an investment, and they refuse to invest in situations that offer no meaningful return. Silence requires discipline because it goes against the instincts of the ego. The ego wants recognition. It wants to be seen as correct, respected, and admired. Whenever someone challenges it, the ego immediately prepares for battle. But wisdom asks a different question. Instead of asking, how do I win this argument? Wisdom asks, is this argument worth my peace? These are completely different ways of living. One seeks victory over others. The other seeks mastery over oneself. The first creates endless conflict. The second creates lasting freedom. This does not mean silence is passive or weak. It does not mean allowing injustice or accepting abuse. There are moments when speaking is necessary, when truth must be defended, and when courage requires a voice. But even then, true strength speaks with clarity instead of rage. It chooses words carefully instead of recklessly. It acts from purpose rather than emotion. Silence becomes powerful because it is intentional, not because it is forced. It is the ability to choose your response instead of becoming a prisoner of your impulses. Imagine carrying a container filled with clean water. Every time someone provokes you and you react without awareness, a little of that water spills onto the ground. One insult, another argument, another pointless debate, another attempt to prove yourself. Slowly the container empties until you have little energy left for what truly matters. Your goals receive less attention, your relationships suffer. Your mind grows restless. Strong people protect that container. They understand that attention is one of life's most valuable resources. They spend it wisely instead of giving it away to every passing distraction. Silence also allows you to observe what noise often hides. When you stop reacting immediately, you begin to notice patterns in people. You see their fears behind their anger, their insecurities behind their criticism, and their pain behind their harsh words. You realize that many attacks have little to do with you and everything to do with the struggles within the other person. This understanding creates compassion instead of resentment. It allows you to respond with wisdom rather than impulse, because you no longer take every opinion as a personal attack. There is another reason silence reflects strength. It demonstrates trust in time. People who constantly defend themselves believe everything must be solved immediately. They fear that if they remain silent, others will believe false stories about them. But truth has a quiet endurance. Character reveals itself over months and years, not through one heated conversation. Those who know who they are allow their actions to speak louder than explanations. They understand that integrity is built through consistent behavior, not persuasive arguments. Eventually, reality exposes what words never could. The strongest individuals develop an inner anchor that remains steady regardless of external storms. Praise does not inflate them because they know compliments can disappear tomorrow. Criticism does not destroy them because they know opinions are temporary. They remain centered because their worth comes from within rather than from the changing voices around them. This inner stability transforms silence from something uncomfortable into something deeply peaceful. They no longer feel empty when no one applauds them. They no longer panic when misunderstood. Their confidence is rooted in self-awareness rather than public approval. When silence becomes your teacher, you begin to notice how much unnecessary suffering is created by impulsive speech. Countless relationships have been damaged by words spoken in anger. Careers have ended because of one emotional reaction. Families have remained divided because neither side was willing to remain silent long enough for wisdom to appear. A single moment of restraint can prevent years of regret. The strongest people understand this truth, and that is why they guard their words with extraordinary care, knowing that every sentence carries the power to build or destroy, to heal or to wound, to create peace or prolong conflict. Walking away is one of the most misunderstood acts of courage. To those who measure strength by confrontation, leaving a difficult situation appears to be surrender. They believe that if you do not argue, fight back, or prove your point, you have somehow lost. But true strength is not measured by how long you remain in conflict. It is measured by your ability to recognize when conflict no longer serves a meaningful purpose. There is great wisdom in knowing that not every battle deserves your presence. Many people stay in toxic conversations because they fear being seen as weak. They continue arguing long after the discussion has stopped being productive. Their goal is no longer understanding but victory. Yet victory achieved through endless conflict often comes at a hidden cost. Every harsh word spoken, every emotional reaction expressed, and every sleepless night spent replaying an argument slowly drains the mind. What appears to be winning on the outside can become losing on the inside. Walking away protects something far more valuable than pride. It protects your peace. There is a difference between escaping responsibility and choosing peace. Escaping responsibility means avoiding difficult conversations that are necessary for growth, accountability, or healing. Walking away with strength, however, means recognizing when a situation has become destructive rather than constructive. If another person refuses to listen, refuses to respect boundaries, or only seeks to provoke your emotions, remaining there serves no higher purpose. Your silence is not an admission of defeat. It is a declaration that your well-being is worth more than endless confrontation. The ego constantly whispers that you must prove yourself. It tells you that if someone misunderstands you, you must correct them. If someone insults you, you must respond. If someone challenges your worth, you must defend it immediately. But wisdom understands that not every opinion deserves your attention. Some people are committed to misunderstanding because it supports the story they have already chosen to believe. No amount of explanation can change a mind that has closed itself to truth. Continuing the struggle only keeps you trapped in their emotional world. Walking away also requires trust in yourself. It means believing that your value does not decrease simply because someone failed to recognize it. A diamond remains precious even if it lies unnoticed in the dirt. Its worth is not determined by the eyes that see it, but by its true nature. In the same way, your character does not depend on another person's approval. The stronger you become, the less you feel compelled to chase validation from those unwilling to offer it. Every moment you spend trapped in unnecessary conflict is a moment taken away from your purpose. While you argue with negativity, your goals wait. Your health waits. Your family waits. Your dreams wait. Time is the one resource that can never be recovered. And strong people understand that wasting it on meaningless battles is one of life's greatest losses. They choose to invest their attention where it creates growth, instead of where it creates resentment. Walking away is not about avoiding people. It is about choosing the environment in which your mind can flourish. Just as a healthy tree cannot thrive in poisoned soil, a peaceful mind cannot grow in constant hostility. The strongest individuals are careful about where they place their energy because they know that every environment shapes their thoughts, habits, and future. They understand that protecting their inner peace is not selfish. It is necessary for becoming the person they are meant to be. There will always be people who interpret your silence as weakness because they cannot imagine strength without noise. Let them believe what they wish. Your life is not a performance designed to satisfy the expectations of others. Your responsibility is to remain faithful to your values, even when they are misunderstood. Over time, your actions will reveal more about your character than any argument ever could. The courage to walk away is not the courage to quit. It is the courage to refuse becoming someone that conflict is trying to make you. From the moment we are born, we begin searching for acceptance. As children, we seek approval from our parents. As students, We seek recognition from teachers and friends. As adults, we often continue the same pattern, hoping that our achievements, appearance, or opinions will earn the admiration of others. Without realizing it, we slowly hand over the keys to our happiness. We allow our confidence to rise when we are praised and fall when we are criticized. This invisible dependence becomes one of the greatest obstacles to inner freedom because a life built on external validation can never be truly stable. Strong people understand a simple but life-changing truth. Not everyone will understand your journey, and they no longer expect them to. They realize that every person views the world through the lens of their own experiences, beliefs, fears, and limitations. What inspires one person may confuse another. What one person respects, another may reject. Trying to gain universal approval is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. No matter how much effort you invest, you will always be disappointed because someone will always disagree with you. The need for validation quietly influences many of our decisions. It affects the clothes we wear, the careers we choose, the relationships we remain in, and even the dreams we abandon. Many people never pursue the life they truly desire because they are afraid of criticism. They stay silent when they should speak. They speak when they should remain silent. They become versions of themselves designed to satisfy others rather than expressions of who they genuinely are. Over time, this creates a deep sense of emptiness because pretending to be accepted is far more painful than being rejected for your authentic self. Freedom begins when you stop asking the world for permission to become who you are meant to be. This does not mean becoming arrogant or ignoring wise advice. Humility is still essential. There is great value in listening, learning, and accepting constructive criticism. But there is a difference between learning from others and living for their approval. One helps you grow, while the other keeps you emotionally dependent. Strong people welcome wisdom wherever it appears, yet they refuse to let the opinions of others determine their identity. Imagine carrying a mirror everywhere you go, allowing every stranger to write something on its surface. One person writes praise, another writes doubt, another writes criticism, and another writes admiration. Before long, the mirror becomes so covered with other people's words that you can no longer see your own reflection. This is what happens when you constantly seek validation. You lose sight of yourself beneath the expectations, judgments, and opinions of everyone around you. Detachment is the process of cleaning that mirror until you can finally recognize your own face again. There will always be people who misunderstand your intentions. Some will criticize your discipline because it reminds them of the habits they refuse to build. Others will question your silence because they are uncomfortable with stillness. Some may even resent your growth because it exposes the excuses they continue to make. If you spend your life trying to satisfy every opinion, you will become exhausted before reaching your destination. The strongest individuals accept that misunderstanding is often the price of living with authenticity. When you no longer depend on validation, your actions become guided by purpose instead of applause. You continue doing the right thing even when no one notices. You remain disciplined even when nobody congratulates you. You keep your promises to yourself even when the world offers no reward. This quiet consistency builds a confidence that cannot be taken away because it is rooted in character rather than recognition. Instead of chasing approval, you begin chasing excellence, and excellence has a remarkable way of speaking for itself without demanding attention. Detachment also transforms your relationships. You stop trying to force people to like you, and instead you allow connections to develop naturally. You become more honest because you no longer fear disappointing everyone. You set healthy boundaries because your self-worth is no longer dependent on being accepted at any cost. Ironically, when you stop chasing approval, people often respect you more because authenticity carries a quiet strength that cannot be imitated. The greatest liberation is realizing that your value was never created by the opinions of others, and therefore it cannot be destroyed by them. Your worth exists before the applause begins and remains long after it fades. Once this truth settles deeply into your heart, You stop living as a prisoner of other people's expectations and begin walking your own path with calm confidence, unwavering purpose, and the quiet freedom that comes from knowing exactly who you are without needing the world to confirm it. Your energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess, yet it is also one of the easiest to waste. Unlike money, lost energy cannot simply be earned back overnight. A single day filled with unnecessary arguments, endless worrying, negative conversations, and emotional reactions can leave you feeling exhausted, even if you have done very little physical work. This is because the mind consumes tremendous energy when it is constantly pulled in different directions. Strong people understand that every thought, every emotion, and every interaction either strengthens them or weakens them. That is why they protect their energy with the same care that a wise person protects their greatest treasure. Most people pay close attention to how they spend their money, but very little attention to how they spend their attention. They think carefully before making a financial investment, yet they freely invest hours in gossip, resentment, social media comparisons, and conflicts that have no lasting value. They allow strangers' opinions to occupy their minds long after the conversation has ended. They replay old arguments before going to sleep and imagine future conflicts that may never happen. Without realizing it, they are giving away their most precious resource to things that contribute nothing to their growth. Every unnecessary argument has a hidden price. Even if you believe you have won, your mind continues carrying the emotional weight of the conflict. Anger lingers, frustration remains, your concentration weakens. Instead of directing your attention toward your goals, you become trapped in replaying conversations that no longer matter. Strong people recognize this pattern early. They ask themselves a simple question before responding. Will this deserve my energy tomorrow? If the answer is no, they choose silence and move forward. Protecting your energy also means choosing your environment wisely. The people around you influence your thoughts more than you may realize. Spend enough time with those who constantly complain, criticize, and blame others, and eventually their mindset begins to shape your own. Their negativity becomes familiar, and what once disturbed you slowly starts to feel normal. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with people who value discipline, honesty, and growth encourages those same qualities within you. Strong individuals understand that while they cannot always choose every circumstance, they can choose which influences they allow to remain close to their hearts. This principle extends beyond relationships. The information you consume every day also shapes your energy. Every book you read, every video you watch, every conversation you entertain, and every thought you repeatedly feed becomes part of your mental environment. If your mind is constantly filled with fear, outrage, and distraction, it becomes difficult to experience clarity or peace. Just as the body reflects the quality of the food it consumes, the mind reflects the quality of the ideas it absorbs. Protecting your energy requires becoming selective not only about people but also about the content that enters your awareness. Strong people are not emotionally cold. They are emotionally disciplined. They care deeply, but they do not allow every event to disturb their inner balance. They understand that not every problem belongs to them. They offer kindness without carrying the burdens that others refuse to release. They support people without sacrificing their own well-being. This balance allows them to remain compassionate while preserving the strength needed to continue serving others and pursuing their purpose. There is also wisdom in creating moments of intentional stillness. In a world filled with constant noise, many people never give their minds an opportunity to recover. Every free moment is filled with notifications, entertainment, or endless activity. Silence begins to feel uncomfortable because they have forgotten how to simply be present. Yet the mind, like the body, requires rest to remain strong. Moments of quiet reflection restore clarity, sharpen awareness, and renew the energy that constant stimulation slowly drains away. Protecting your energy does not mean building walls around your heart or withdrawing from the world. It means becoming conscious of what deserves access to your attention. It means understanding that your peace is not something to be traded for temporary satisfaction or meaningless victories. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, purpose over distraction, and calm over unnecessary reaction, you strengthen the foundation of your character. Over time, these small daily choices create a life that is no longer controlled by external chaos but guided by inner stability, where your energy becomes a force directed toward growth, wisdom, meaningful relationships, and the quiet fulfillment that comes from living with intention, rather than constant emotional exhaustion. Many people spend their entire lives trying to conquer the world while never learning how to conquer themselves. They chase success, recognition, influence, and power, believing that these achievements will finally bring them peace. Yet history has shown us countless examples of people who possessed wealth, fame, and authority, but remained restless within. External victories may impress the world, but they cannot heal an undisciplined mind. The strongest victory is not the one that places you above others. It is the one that allows you to rise above your own fears, impulses, and limitations. Inner peace is often mistaken for the absence of problems. People imagine that peaceful individuals live without difficulties, conflicts, or disappointments. The truth is very different. Peace is not created by perfect circumstances. It is created by a stable mind that remains centered even when circumstances are imperfect. Storms will come into every life. People will misunderstand you. Plans will fail. Losses will occur. The question is not whether challenges will arrive, but whether your mind will remain steady when they do. Strong people do not avoid life's storms. They develop the strength to stand calmly within them. One of the greatest enemies of inner peace is the desire to control everything around you. We want people to behave according to our expectations. We want events to unfold exactly as we planned. We want life to reward our efforts immediately. When reality refuses to follow our script, frustration appears. The more tightly we try to control the uncontrollable, the more anxious and exhausted we become. Wisdom begins when you recognize the difference between what belongs to your control and what does not. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, and your choices belong to you. Other people's opinions, emotions, and decisions do not. The stronger you become, the more you focus your energy on what you can influence instead of what you cannot. Forgiveness is another path toward inner victory. Holding on to resentment feels like strength because it gives the illusion of justice. But in reality, resentment keeps you emotionally connected to the very pain you wish to escape. Every time you replay an old wound, you allow the past to continue shaping your present. Forgiveness does not excuse harmful behavior, nor does it require forgetting what happened. It simply means refusing to let yesterday's pain control today's peace. Strong people understand that releasing bitterness is not a gift to those who hurt them. It is a gift to themselves. There is also great power in accepting imperfection. Many people become prisoners of unrealistic expectations. They believe they must never fail, never make mistakes, and never experience weakness. When they inevitably fall short, they become discouraged and lose confidence. But every meaningful journey includes setbacks. Every disciplined person has faced moments of doubt. Every wise individual has learned through failure. Inner peace grows when you stop demanding perfection from yourself and instead commit to steady improvement. Progress achieved with patience is far more valuable than perfection pursued through self-criticism. The strongest individuals also understand that happiness and peace are not identical. Happiness often depends on favorable circumstances, a pleasant day, good news, or a successful achievement. Peace runs much deeper. It remains present even when happiness temporarily disappears. A peaceful person can experience grief without becoming hopeless, disappointment without becoming bitter, and uncertainty without becoming fearful. This stability comes from knowing that circumstances constantly change, but character can remain firm through every season of life. Walking away without a word is often an expression of this inner victory. It is not about avoiding confrontation, but about recognizing that your peace is too valuable to sacrifice for an argument that leads nowhere. When you no longer feel compelled to prove your worth, defend every opinion, or respond to every criticism, you discover a freedom that cannot be taken away by the actions of others. Your silence becomes a reflection of confidence rather than hesitation. Your calm becomes a source of strength rather than passivity. The greatest achievement is not collecting trophies, gaining admiration, or defeating those who oppose you. Those victories are temporary and often disappear with time. The victory that endures is the one won within your own heart. It is the moment when anger no longer controls your words, when fear no longer controls your decisions, when pride no longer controls your relationships, and when the opinions of others no longer determine your sense of worth. That is the victory no one can steal, because it is built through discipline, protected by wisdom, and sustained by the quiet confidence of a person who has learned that true strength begins and ends with mastery over oneself